Hello and welcome to Wrestling Royalty. It's of course Friday night, and you are here with myself, Andy, and I'm going to have a very special guest of Dan Hargreaves from Gimme a Hull Yeah, who's going to be joining us. I'll bring him in very shortly, but we are here tonight to talk about the Royal Rumble 2024. We're a week and 1 day, so it's a week tomorrow, and we'll be seeing the Royal Rumble 2024. And this particular stream, what we're going to be talking about is all the different stories that are going around. You hear a lot about stories these days in WWE. And I think it's about time we spoke about it. So there's definitely a few that we want to get through tonight in both the men's and the women's. So we are going to be discussing CM Punk. We are going to be discussing everything to do with damage control. We're going to talk about Becky Lynch and can she get her shot against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. We will be talking about who else. There's plenty of things going on. There's Gunther. Is he going to go all the way this year? And there's many, many more that we will kind of try and get through tonight. Next week, we will be talking and we're doing a whole preview of the show of Royal Rumble. So tonight, we're talking specifically about the Royal Rumble matches. But before we go into that, you all know what I've got to do. I've got to press that button. And to signal the entrance of Dan, I'm going to give you the world's smallest intro ever because I still don't have a longer one. So be prepared that this is 3 seconds long.
But if by magic,
here he is. If you ever watch the Gimme a Hull Yeah guys, you'll notice that when they do their streams, they have Big E and Mick Foley. You've got tons, haven't you? Of the ones you've got. Shot.
Yeah. We've got Abby Allen, we've got Matt Hardy, Raven, Shotzi. Oh yeah, we've got a good few sort of plugging us.
Yeah, and Dom sends me the world's smallest introduction. So 3 seconds long, but a lot of good things can happen in 3 seconds, isn't that right, Dan?
Oh yes, I've been told that many times.
It is, of course, lovely to have you in. We are normally joined by Sam and Dan these days. It's great to have them both on. Dan's out drinking tonight, but what is very fun, he is around because he's happy to tweet or where it's on YouTube. He's happy to comment on YouTube because we are, of course, live not just on Wrestling Royalty, but all those lovely Hullamaniacs over on Gimme a Hull Yeah. I got that right. I think the Hullamaniacs. Yeah, that's right. And of course, you can subscribe to both these channels. And if you want to, there's more options. Dan, I'll give you a chance at the top of the show right now. There's other ways you can support Gimme a Hull Yeah as well, isn't there?
There is. We've got Patreon. We've got our merch shop. You can just literally follow us on anything. Any little thing that you do for a small channel means the world to them, whether it's a like, whether it's a share, whether it is a subscribe. Over here on Wrestling Royalty, over on Gimme a Hull Yeah, anything that you do engagement-wise, we all appreciate. So anything you can do, like I said, a little comment, it does help us out because it does mean that we are visible in some way for you guys.
And as Dan says, I can assure you that it does mean everything because throughout the week, will see how well videos perform. Will I talk about Dominic Mysterio again? Because quite frankly, he's one of the best viewed videos we've done on this channel so far. The answer is probably yes. Whereas we've had some where they don't get as much. And it means I know what to expect, in the future. Should we talk about this? Should we talk about that? And I only ever want to talk about things that you guys want to listen to as well. And I know that's true over on Gimme a Hull Yeah. That's why they have such successful streams. And you can watch what could be a drunk Sam tonight on the SmackDown stream. So join him at 1 a.m. UK time. I believe that would work out as, what was that, 7 p.m. US time? 8 p.m.?
7 p.m. somewhere around there.
7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm sure it's 5 hours behind there. So yeah, join Sam. He'll be watching SmackDown tonight. It promises to be a good one as we're only a couple of weeks away. Well, it's a week and a day, as I said, from the Royal Rumble. I believe there's contract signings going on tonight. You are going to get to see Roman Reigns on there as well. So, go join in the fun with Sam. And if he is a bit drunk, maybe he might be a bit looser and talking about things he shouldn't be talking about. So it's always worth checking that out. And, of course, you can see Dan on Monday Night Raw. He covers the Raw streams on Monday and Tuesday. Bless him, he works the graveyard shift, as I would call that one, because it's a 3-hour slog, but not when you're watching it with Dan. It's not a slog at all.
Watching Raw's the slog.
Well, these days it's not too bad, actually.
Actually, no, you're right about that. Monday night's show was a pretty much banger from start to finish. Great matches all the way through the card. And yeah, very entertaining. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Yeah, well, heady days of 8 out of 10 on Monday Night Raw, even when it's headlined by Jinder Mahal. So yeah, great recommendation for watching Raw. But as I say, we are here tonight, and I'll put it up on the screen here to talk about the stories within the match of the Royal Rumble matches. So we've got the women's and the men's, and so this will be happening next Saturday night. We will do a full review show of the whole card next Friday night, leading into that. But as a guy who loves to write, I really appreciate stories. There feels like there's a lot going on heading into to this, both on Raw and SmackDown, and feeding into the Royal Rumble. So, Dan, I know over the last few weeks there's definitely been a few things happening on Raw. The way I'm going to do this, I'm going to throw some different pictures up on the screen. We'll talk about like the person and the story that person's kind of going into it, and how excited you are, etc. So let's jump into it. The first one is, we saw on Monday night Becky Lynch had a face-off against Rhea Ripley, where she effectively said, I need to win the Royal Rumble to claim my place and to prove to myself that I can hang in the ring with you. I am still the man. I am better than you. To which Rhea kind of just said, I look forward to seeing you at the WrestleMania. I thought that was a standout promo on Raw. What about yourself?
It was pretty much guaranteeing that we're going to see that match at WrestleMania, but the way that it's been built, you've got the sort of feel that Becky should be winning it, but if she doesn't win it, it reminds me quite a lot of Shawn Michaels saying, I need to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. It's that sort of setup where the WrestleMania is the be-all, end-all. And yeah, I think that Becky is a great shout to win the match. I think she's third favourite on the betting odds from what I remember a couple of days ago.
Okay.
And yeah, I do think Becky should be in the final three no matter what. There is other people that we're going to speak about that I think should win it, but I do think Becky should always be in that picture. She's always going to be one of the top stars on Monday Night Raw, on SmackDown, wherever she does end up going. She even did a stint in NXT to help boost that sort of visibility by having this world champion down on their show. So this was set up absolutely perfect, because the way that Triple H is seeming to write these stories is he has got an end goal in sight, even if it isn't for 3-4 months' time.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I have seen a few people on social media saying something similar to you, but also not just Becky. That whole Shawn Michaels thing has been leveled at what happens if Cody gets eliminated. Does he just go full Shawn Michaels, start knocking out some referees out of frustration, etc.? And the same can be said for Drew as well, because Drew's kind of painting that, and we will get to them. But I thought it was interesting that they very specifically had Rhea said, I'll see you at Mania. And it almost sets Becky up that she has to win, and if she doesn't, like, that's the story. It's like, how does she claw her way back there? And there's a couple of comments that we'll go to. Chris, lovely to have you in, mate. I've seen you got a couple of comments. We'll get to them. He also agrees with you, 8 out of 10 on Raw. There was some great moments there. One of these was the promo between Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. Dan was replying there. Hassan, Terrell, hey mate, how's it going? Lovely to see you in on a Friday night. Hope you're having a great day and a great week. Let us know in the comments what story are you most looking forward to playing out in the Royal Rumble matches. Chris is back again. We know who's going to win the Royal Rumble: Bayley and CM Punk. Great shouts. We'll get there. We will kind of discuss that, because one of them I agree with, one of them I'm not so sure on. Mark, Lovely to see you again, mate. I know you're a big supporter of both the channels, so lovely to have you in here. I got a feeling Seth's vacating on Monday. Yes, there is speculation that Seth Rollins, I think it was WrestleVotes, who do seem to get good
Yes.
sources of information, has said at the moment the plan is to have him address his current health state.
It has been pulled from all of the house shows over the weekend, so it could be give him time, let it sort of settle down, and then give it another scan maybe Sunday, Monday, and then the announcement on the Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for Seth because obviously they've really built him as a fighting champion, and they could, I guess, wrap him in cotton wool and not really have him do anything until Mania because, I think the match that most people want to see is Seth Rollins versus CM Punk.
It's the money match.
Yeah, they absolutely could do that, but it plays very against the character he's set up himself. So he's almost like a victim of his own success and his own kind of morals in that respect. And I do feel for Seth because this isn't the first WrestleMania season he's had nerves about not getting to WrestleMania. I think this is even the third or fourth one where he's had the potential to miss it after missing.
He had the one with Triple H where it was the Kingslayer.
Yes.
Where he supposedly did work the match with a bit of an injured knee. Mm-hmm. He had the knee injury in Ireland when he was up against Kane in a tables match. That actually took him out of WrestleMania season altogether.
That's right. That was in the UK. Wasn't it?
Yeah, that one again. It's what was you going to say? Sorry.
Or was it Dublin? I don't want to get in trouble there. It might have been Ireland.
It was Ireland somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe Northern Ireland, maybe Ireland, but it was in sort of British areas waters.
Yes. Ish. We don't want to upset anyone. That's the only thing there. Sorry, carry on.
But yeah, so I think Seth is obviously got a bit of a struggle if he is injured and how long the recovery period is, because we know his knees have always been a bit of an injury issue for him.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll wait. I mean, you can watch it along with Dan when we find out on Raw if anything is said about it. So tune in to Give Me a Hug Yeah on Monday.
So I have got a quick thing that I would say for that one is if Seth really is injured and he does have to go away for a little while, I'm going to throw the question to the chat as well.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want Damian Priest to cash in on the injured Seth to build more heat for himself and Judgment Day?
It's a good question. I'll answer it. They have to do something because right now I don't think Damian Priest is fit to be, the face of a show. I don't think they've done enough. They've currently got him effectively in a comedic storyline with R-Truth, and it does nothing for him. Yes, they had that bit where he kind of had no issue taking him out to get the win on Monday in that tag team match, but it's still not addressed fully. And to me, they need to get him to brutally take out R-Truth and stop that nonsense, because it is funny. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it, but it's not helping Judgment Day as a group be a serious commodity. And Damian Priest even more so. I just don't see him as the face of a big match in WrestleMania. Like, he's the kind of guy, and this might sound harsh, he could be a champion from May to January. I just don't see him as champion in April when it's your massive show, when you've got eyes that don't watch any other show. That sounds a bit harsh. I just don't see it at the moment. They haven't built him that way. So
yeah, I completely agree with that. The way that you want people to be portrayed, if they are the Money in the Bank briefcases, you want them to be dominant. You don't want them to be in a stupid comedy segment. I absolutely love R-Truth to death.
Yeah.
But him and Damian Priest should be poles apart on the show. You should have, I think, Dominic Mysterio and R-Truth having comedy. You shouldn't be having Damian Priest in that mix. He should be going out saying, I'm keeping it serious. I want to be the world champion. I want such and such match this week. I want this match next week. I want to be fighting to keep myself prepared for when I see Seth at his weakest, which could be Monday night.
Yep. Absolutely. But yeah, there's a lot of stories going on like all over, which is great because quite frankly, there has been times where it's been a bit lean on anything to take an interest in. But um, you know, we'll see what happens with Seth. It would be such a shame if he is injured because he's done such a great job at building that title as much as possible, which a lot of people didn't think would be possible at the time when it was introduced. But for me, I think he's elevated it to a position, the very good position, basically, that I don't think many would have expected. Last one before we move on here. Main events could be, if Seth is fine, Seth versus Punk and Roman versus Cody or Rock or both in a triple threat. We did cover what we think might happen with the sort of Roman Cody Rock thing on a couple of streams ago. I'm not against a triple threat. It would load the card even more, protect certain people in that match. It is a bit of a smart one. There are negatives to it. You know, does Cody have it a bit diminished? Is like his big shining moment diminished by having that, or does it make it even bigger by beating The Rock and Roman in one go if that was what happens? So pros and cons, and I think it might be just a case of people's preferences and tastes at this point. So one to keep an eye on, and of course, maybe I haven't got it here. Maybe The Rock shows up in the Royal Rumble. Maybe we see that, and that's definitely one to keep an eye on as we move on. But as I say, Becky Lynch. What do you think Becky's chances are on a sort of like 1 out of 10 of winning the Royal Rumble? Where would you place her in that?
I would probably put her about 5 or 6 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Very good chance, but there is people that are better positioned and I think would have a better story going forward if they won.
Okay. I mean, we were all about the stories. We were all about stories tonight. But another person who has staked a claim at potentially, you know, tilting for the title is the returning Nia Jax, who I must say, I think they have been showcasing a lot better than she was in her first run. What have you made of Nia Jax, and is she a serious contender here in the Royal Rumble?
I've never been Nia Jax's biggest supporter, I'll be honest with that. But I do think that since she's come back, they've been hiding a lot of weaknesses that she may have still. But they've also been accentuating the positives in terms of she can physically sort of dominate people in the ring. And when you can dominate someone in the ring, you're going to look like a big threat. And that's, I think, the best way to sort of accentuate Nia Jax's positives. She can pick people up quite easily and toss them around. But when it's done safely, she's a great in-ring presence. Very similar to Omos. He's a huge guy. So they're always going to have a threat in the Rumble because they are the bigger sort of character. They are the bigger physical specimen. So trying to get Nia Jax over the top rope, it's going to be a challenge. And I think there's a couple of people that would really benefit from eliminating Nia Jax out of the Rumble storyline-wise.
Yes. I think that probably is the better shout of like, because there's a lot of stories heading into the Royal Rumble, but I always like it when there's a lot of stories heading out because certain things have been triggered, certain things are pushed on a little bit further. And this is one with Nia Jax is actually you can set up a nice feud for her to get her teeth into outside the title for Elimination Chamber, or you can set it up nicely for somewhere else on the card on WrestleMania. But certainly there's opportunities there, and also she's one of the sort of the biggest size in the ring in the Royal Rumble. There's always that, oh well, let's get 6 people to eliminate them, and it makes that big pop where everyone has to band together, sort of thing. So that's more likely the spot that they put Nia Jax in. And
I'm actually against that spot this year for a change because like I said, I've got the idea of you've got this new female on the roster that's meant to be this quite big powerhouse in Ivy Nile.
Oh right, I thought you were going to go with Jade.
No, I was completely skipping Jade altogether because she's not been seen at all. So I was going to go with Ivy Nile. She's meant to be this very, very sort of strong powerhouse, but she's very small. So you could have the face-off Nia Jax, tiny Ivy Nile, and then Ivy Nile gets a bit of a rub by eliminating Nia Jax, and then Nia Jax wants to try and take out Ivy Nile, and then you've got, it doesn't have to be a big long feud, but you've then got at least couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks maybe, up until Elimination Chamber of Nia Jax just wanting to get revenge.
I'm not against it, but the one thing, who was it they had? Oh no, it was Valhalla, wasn't it? I think Valhalla's going to have a match against Ivy Nile, but again, that's a nice build if they do it on Monday to build Ivy Nile's stature a little bit in the eyes of the fans and stuff. So potential to get her a little bit more over and heat up into the Royal Rumble for that spot. So yeah, good shout. I like that. So there's a lot of comments about Bayley being the sort of the potential winner this year. I think she is odds-on favourite if you look on any betting, which is I still find it absolutely mental that you can bet on professional wrestling. But if that tickles your fancy and you can bet responsibly, go for it. Bayley is the heavy favourite to win the Royal Rumble next Saturday. Again, Chris, Bayley's never won a Royal Rumble. Becky Lynch's won it. Charlotte's won it. Sasha's done well in them before, but I don't think
Oscar's won.
Yeah, so if they're kind of leveling up Bayley to the rest of the 4 horsewomen that have been there, this is a great way to do it. And also, from a story perspective, I think this is the one you want to go with, on the basis that they do that whole which champion they're going to pick, and she's kind of been calling a shot of, oh yeah, I'll go for Rhea, obviously, but she's also not been receiving a lot of help from the rest of Damage Control. They're very cliquey, and she's been a bit like, oh, what's going on here? I think they're painting this to eventually end with Io versus Bayley, and Bayley move back towards being a babyface. I don't think anyone's ever fully disliked her, as a heel, because she was so likable before, and I think she's so entertaining as a heel. She's never really been properly bought as like a full-blown heel. And I think this kind of against the odds, the numbers, etc. I think it's a great shout for Bayley to win and set up a bit more drama. So, what do you think about that? Are you in the camp of Bayley's probably the favourite here?
100% on board with it. When I alluded to earlier, there's other people that we think have got a better chance. I think Bayley's a 9 out of 10 chance of winning.
Right.
Going forward, you've pretty much hit the nail on the head for exactly what I think should happen, and I think will happen, because sometimes what we think should happen is completely different to what should happen. But this one, everything, all the pieces are fitting together nicely. You've got a bit of tension in there. I think Dakota Kai could be not far off coming back from injury. So you could have Bayley win the Rumble. Once she's won the Rumble, she could then say, I don't know who to go for, and just play it out a week or two. But then Io Sky just basically has Dakota Kai take out Bayley altogether.
Right.
Have Dakota Kai absolutely demolish Bayley, and then Bayley goes, well, for that, I'm going to come for your title, Io. You have Dakota become the mouthpiece of Damage Control altogether, because I think Dakota Kai can be great on the mic. And then you have Bayley come back as the hugger gimmick. Crowd will go for it, I think.
Yeah, I just wonder if they do it in a way where if Bayley were to win and she doesn't make an immediate decision to go for Rhea, and then she starts noticing that the others are always talking behind her back, there's the 3 from Japan and Dakota, who seems to be the unofficial translator for the group. And she gets a bit paranoid about why they always talking without me. There's always plans. Have tag matches where they blame her for the loss, things like that, where it really backs her into a corner, and eventually they can turn on her because they're getting paranoid that she's not picked her opponent, etc. That for me is the way you can kind of build the drama up over the next few weeks and months. They've got that elimination chamber, and then there's a bit of a gap, isn't there? Because we go in February, there's nothing in March, and then we're through to April.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of April Mania, but that to me gives them more than enough time to build the tension. Don't make her pick straight away because you'd effectively have to be picking about 2 weeks' time. Start it tonight. There's still more dissension in the ranks, etc. So it's a great shout to kind of build that in between. And Dakota, I think, is going to be the mastermind behind the turn.
I mean, the other thing that I was literally thinking of while you was talking there is, could you have Bailey kicked out of Damage Control this weekend or next weekend, and then return at the Rumble with the inflatable Bailey buddies and become the super babyface in the Rumble?
Well,
I think that would be a bit of a two-sharp turn, but again, that would be a big swerve that we wouldn't expect, and I think Triple H should be game for it.
Possibly. I think it might be hot-shotted a little bit too fast. If they'd done it, started that a couple of weeks ago, then there was every chance, because if someone's going to come back in the Rumble, you kind of want it to be after a little while. So like Sami Zayn has been away the perfect amount of time, and we'll talk a little bit about that and Drew and stuff like that in just a few minutes. But yeah, there's a couple of comments as well. Norma, good to see you, mate. I'm good with Bailey winning. Would create much tension, damage control. Good opportunity for her to go leave. Yep. And then Chris said Bailey should turn face, but not the hugger gimmick. I do tend to agree there, because I think with Bailey, she's one of those people that can look back at the end of her career and say that was the hugger era. That this was the sort of Karen-esque era. This and damage control, and then this was the almost like a tweener, but she can also be like a serious face, as in like it doesn't have to be that she's like in your face hugging everyone, and you don't have to have the baby buddies, but you could save that for like a WrestleMania to get the crowd to be up for it. So there are like opportunities to drip that in, but if her character is more actually, I'm doing this because again, similar to Becky, I need to prove myself that I'm actually as good as the people I'm always lumped in with, but they won all this and I never have. So you've got that. If she wins the Rumble, you can say, actually, I want my WrestleMania match, because there's been years where I've been left off the card completely. I had to sit back and watch Charlotte and Sasha and Becky all like have prominent matches at WrestleMania, and I just don't feel like I ever get it. So I think there's a chance that they go down that route, but for now it's all about the drama of damage control. Bailey needs to keep the current image, be a semi-heel that the crowd cheers for. She's charismatic enough that could work as well. That she doesn't have to change too much about it, but like slightly soften the edges, I guess. Mark's confirmed. I know it's a month away, but confirmed Chamber will be 10 a.m. UK time. So yeah, next premium live event after WrestleMania will be the Chamber over in Australia, which actually lends itself very nicely to a start time apparently of 10 a.m. on a Saturday. So yeah, great to be able to sit and watch it and not have your eyes drooping. So you could probably, I'm sure there'll be some plans, maybe a watch along or something over on Give Me a Hole, and plenty of previews over here on Wrestling Royalty as well. So watch this space. Make sure you subscribe, and then you'll find out what sort of things we're doing. What are we going to do for the Royal Rumble? Click that subscribe button to keep yourself in the know, and you'll see those lovely thumbnails that Dan designs for the channel over in Give Me a Hole, explaining how you can tune in. So Bailey, a red hot favourite by the sounds of it. Another person though who has been kind of up against it at the moment with damage control is Bianca Belair. She of course has also won a past Royal Rumble back in the era of the Thunderdome. So she would be very keen to be winning a Royal Rumble and get herself across, and potentially into another dream match, which would be Bianca versus Rhea Ripley, which we've never had, I don't think, on the main roster. They've teased it time and time again, and we've narrowly missed out, I think, a couple of times. So to see this at the Royal Rumble, I think at the WrestleMania would be huge. And she's declared, only one of a few women who have also declared at the moment. What do you think about Bianca winning a second Royal Rumble? Well, how would you feel?
If she was going to win a second Rumble, I would want her to do it as a heel, because I know she is such a good poster child for WWE. She's a great ambassador for the company, but I'm, in all honesty, bored of the super happy, super energetic face version of Bianca Belair.
Okay.
I want her to be joining Bobby Lashley and her real life partner, Montez Ford. I want her to be part of the hair business. I think she would be a great addition to that faction. And if you wanted to, after WrestleMania, do a draft, bring the full faction over to Raw, and have them going up against the Judgment Day. I think that would be a great set of combination matches because I don't think we've seen many of them before.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and there's also, because there's like a built-in sort of main star, and then there'll be a female star and a tag team, and it's nice to have that kind of range that you can then mix things up, mix tag matches if you need to. But of course, they are. Well, I guess the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. They've named the group now, haven't they? And I can't remember what it's called.
I'm still calling the Hurt Business because that's what they are in my mind.
I'm sure it's like, it's not the Prestige, but it's something like that.
Yeah,
Premium or something. I'm sure there was a name that was given to it, but they're of course locked in a battle with Authors of Pain and Karrion Kross, but that group also contains Scarlett. So there's a potential that she could join before that and have a feud with that new faction that's going on. Maybe we'll find out a bit more in the coming weeks over on SmackDown. But I just wanted to include Bianca because she is one of the ones who has declared herself for the Women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
But we are going to move on about halfway through, and we're going to move on to the Men's Rumble match because there is a lot going on here. As I get a random Facebook message, get off your pesky thing. I don't know if you can hear that notification. Not that popular. It's just start beeping. Anyway, we've noticed over the last few weeks, we've had these kind of standoff where Drew's been involved and Cody's been involved, and then we've had CM Punk involved as well. And I like this dynamic because it very much reminds me of the better aspects of the Attitude Era, where anything could happen in terms of like there was like 6 people chasing the title at all times, and that was very unpredictable because one week you might get The Rock versus Stone Cold, then they're chucking Kurt Angle, or they're chucking Chris Jericho, or they're chucking Kane and Undertaker. And there's so many like massive names chasing after the same spots. Now, to me, that was very exciting. And this is very reminiscent because you've got a lot of people interacting who are upper card, talent. And I think it's great. So we saw this particular showdown on Monday, which is Cody versus Drew. And I love the aesthetic of Drew in his leathers and his leather kilt and his Cody, and even comment about it in his suits. What did you think about this particular standoff before we go on to the others? Because I've got some shots of those as well. What do you think of Drew facing off against Cody?
The face-off and the promo on Raw was an absolute belter of a promo. It was such a good build. There was no physical activity needed from any of them. They are so good. They're both so charismatic. The war of words was enough to get me hyped to see these two in the Royal Rumble at least together, and then maybe as a good singles feud further down the line. I think they're both incredible performers, and if Drew has not re-signed, I think that could determine how he gets booked in the Rumble, in all honesty.
Okay, yeah. Because it'd be very hard to argue that he's not been booked very strong at the moment because he's going up against like the likes of CM Punk and he's had a title shot, a couple of title shots really, and also against Cody here. So like surely he's re-signed, but I don't see how they would push him this hard and this prominently if he hasn't signed something already.
It could be. I mean, he said he wanted creative assurances, I think was the phrase that was used, if it was going to re-sign. So this could be, look at what we can do with you. Why not re-sign? Because you've seen how good we can book you now.
Yeah.
But it might not be enough for Drew. It might end up disappearing. But
yeah,
for the past, I would say, 6 months, he's had a big increase in quality in terms of booking, in terms of promos if they are written for him. He's been brilliant on the mic, putting over these promos, and if he's ad-libbing them, even better.
yeah. And that means he's getting the freedom that he probably wants as well. But I don't think without giving someone a title, I think it's very difficult to say he's not been booked well. A couple more before we kind of talk about this a bit. A couple more comments even before we talk a bit further about this one. Norma is saying about Jade Cargill, of course. Surely she's going to be a surprise entrant. Good opportunity to introduce her. Let her eliminate a few before she gets tossed. And you then imagine whoever it is who throws her out sets up a nice feud for her to go in. So that would be the way that I would book it. Make her look super strong. Maybe push the record in terms of like most eliminations in a Rumble match if you have to. But yeah, I think it's a very safe environment for her to be drip fed in because you might get a pop, but also it gives you a chance where you don't have to do too much wrestling. It's more of a case of like hold locks, the odd spot here and there, and then pick people up and throw them out. It's a no-brainer, surely.
Yeah. I think Jade would be a great introduction, but supposedly she's not advancing as well as they would hope in the development center, which is why she hasn't been debuted yet. There was rumors of her being debuted at Survivor Series, and it got halted because there was nowhere near enough progression in ring ability. So they basically put the brakes on that one. So she's had an extra couple of months, probably near enough 3 months since Survivor Series by the time next week comes around. So hopefully by that point, it will be where they do trust her enough in the ring to be able to sort of put her on a good show.
Yeah, and I mean they've been letting her have classes with Natty and TJ, haven't they? So like she's in hands in terms of like those two in particular seem to be doing a lot for the women's division. So yeah, interesting one to keep an eye on for that. Matthew, good to see you in, mate. If you're Cody Rhodes, would you be mad about Rock returning and taking a spot? It's pretty professional, but it would annoy me if that was the plan and it suddenly got changed. But it's very difficult, isn't it, in wrestling to know what's set in stone. Plans seem to change at the drop of a hat. People go hot, people go cold. People's availability, like The Rock or John Cena, like they might not have thought they were available. They might not have thought there was any interest to do something like that. And at the end of the day, WWE and Triple H is always going to do what is best for business. And I think Cody understands that more than most. It wouldn't sting any less, absolutely. But I think he'd understand. But yes, I think he'd be pretty annoyed.
I mean, in all honesty, I don't see The Rock at WrestleMania. I see The Rock going up against Roman at Elimination Chamber.
Well, apparently neither of them are booked for it.
Yes, but Roman wasn't booked for Elimination Chamber in Canada 2023 against Sami Zayn until after the heel turn at the face turn from Sami Zayn at the Rumble. So you've still got plenty of time to announce it.
Yeah, and things can change. Bonkers LFC. No, rather Bianca get thrown out by either Trish or Jade to set up a Mania match because no shot. I mean, Bianca versus Jade Cargill. That was one of the ones that was mentioned at the time where you know that's a great matchup and you want to see that. So yeah, really, really interesting to see that suggestion. Mark, the harbinger of doom, Seth Rollins has sustained a torn MCL and a partially torn meniscus, according to Fightful Select. Quite possibly, he didn't. It looked more like the look on his face at the end of that match was a sort of like I'm in trouble. It was more of like a sort of wry smile of like I can't catch a break. Like so, tune in on Monday. What is all I can say basically. Tune in on Monday. Aaron Humphrey asking how we're both doing. We're very good, Aaron. Well, I am anyway. I can't speak for Dan, but enjoying having a chat about the stories of Royal Rumble. Dan, are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'll let you know. Aaron's a guy I used to work with at O2, and he always asks my predictions for storylines going forward and results of stuff like the Royal Rumble, and he'll tell you how scarily accurate I have been on quite a lot of them over the past year or past couple of years.
That might be why there's a certain prediction belt sat behind you, which again he's going to defend it very soon.
I'm defending it next Saturday because I haven't actually told you this yet. Next Friday, when we are doing the full Royal Rumble discussion, we're going to have a predictions form that you can join in with at home. We're going to put it on our Gimme Holy Air pages, our Twitter, our Facebook. We're going to tweet it out and get it shared out as much as possible so you can put your own predictions in for who's going to win the Rumble, who's going to win the Women's Rumble, who's going to come out number one on certain on the matches, and whoever wins gets to be the Gimme a Whole Year champion. You don't get the belt because that is just for the presenters, but you do get to call yourself the Gimme a Whole Year People's Champion until the next time it's defended, which will be Elimination Chamber, I think.
Well, I mean, you can't say better than that. So, but basically, tune in next week because you don't want to miss that opportunity. And I'm sure between us, we can probably think of some sort of like physical prize to send out to the winner as well. I'll state that if I have to because I know I've just said that, so I kind of feel like I'll have to do something. We'll put. I can put something on the line.
We'll get something done.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll crack back on here. Bonkers was just asking there, obviously with the news about Seth Rollins potentially tearing his MCL and meniscus as well. Does that mean the title on the line at Rumble? It's a good shout. It very well could do. Very well could do. But the nice thing is I have full faith in the creative team now that they'll take this horrible news, if that's what's happened, and make it something very special moving forward. So I have full faith that Triple H and his team will come through smelling a rose.
They'll address it in a very clever way, I think.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, you've always got that threat of Damian Priest with that briefcase. Could you just cash in? If he just went, I'm vacating it, and he just cashed in and went, well, I'm the champion.
Could do. That could be a great way of getting the title off of Seth and going it on to someone, but you don't have to have the surprise pop of a cash in, but it would still work. I think it'd be quite cool.
Because I mean, I'm not exactly the same, and it's almost eerie that it happened. But like with Becky when she left, and Oscar just got the Money in the Bank, and she just won the belt instead.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one because you basically just go, I'll trade you the brief. That would be a cool way. I'll trade you the briefcase when you come back.
That's a great shout. I would love that idea.
It's like, tell you what, you give me that and I'll give you this. And be like, okay.
Yeah.
Keep Seth a bit hot. And then when he comes back, you can give him like a monster pop because he'll have the Money in the Bank briefcase. Oh, I'd love to see that.
And then you could, I mean, depending on how bad the injury could be or is for Seth, you could have him cash in on the Raw before Mania to take the title back off Priest to then set up CM Punk versus Seth at Mania. That would go an insane pop if that happened, I think.
Yeah. How long torn MCL recovery time? Well, see, here's the thing. It says a grade 1 MCL tear usually heals within 1 to 3 weeks. A grade 2, which is moderate tear, 4 to 6 weeks. And a grade 3 severe MCL tear can take 6 weeks or more.
I think I'm just having a look on Fightful.
Yeah.
It's an ACL tear.
Oh, an ACL's worse. I know that.
Yeah. So it could be the time frame of right before WrestleMania that it could be healed.
Well, I thought an ACL tear is like 6 to 9 months, isn't it?
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
Let's let the information come out. We don't speculate too much, but that'll be one to watch. See how they play that out. But again, I'm sure they'll do something about it. Good job because Another one that we've seen Drew involved in was that I thought this was fantastic. And probably between the two that we've just seen in this one, this I thought was fantastic. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, because Drew's kind of grumbled a bit about CM Punk for a while, and CM Punk just came straight out and went, "Hey, yeah, you want to talk about it?" I thought this got semi-personal, but in a way that it never felt like it overstepped too much. And it was almost like what you think AEW could have done when there was like the beef with Hangman Page and CM Punk. It never overstepped too much, but it was enough to get some stinging barbs in there. There was obviously a little bit of history. Drew got quite personal, obviously, and said, "I needed a locker room leader. You called yourself that, and you never helped me once. You were only ever in for yourself." Things that obviously are quite frequently leveled at CM Punk. But yeah, I thought this was fantastic, and it really put both men front and center of the Royal Rumble. What did you think of this one compared to the Cody one?
Again, the back and forth from two, I think, of the best talkers in WWE at the minute. CM Punk's always had this air of arrogance, but he knows he's good enough to back it up a lot of the time. Drew can pull that off as well. So when you've got two people that are that good at them aspects of building the anticipation for a fight without actually doing any physical contact, it's a great show from both of them. But with CM Punk, sometimes he's known for overstepping boundaries in many different areas, on the mic, physically, backstage, at all in. But he's good enough to back it up. I just think that you'll look at stuff that's been said about CM Punk back in 2010, and the same things are cropping up every time about issues with CM Punk. The one thing that I always sort of remember, and I always seem to relate to how true it is even now, is when Triple H was in the ring with CM Punk. Triple H and CM Punk was having a war of words. CM Punk says, "This isn't CM Punk talking to Triple H. This is Phil Brooks talking to Paul Levesque." And then they had a bit of a war of words. Triple H fought back and said, CM Punk's only interested in bettering the business if it's bettering himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about anyone else.
Yeah.
And we've heard that same sort of phrase or sort of general aspect of the sentiment from an AEW's perspective, saying that he was only interested in bettering it for himself. He's come back to WWE and he's now working with a person that he said that he absolutely hated in terms of Triple H.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we know he's probably going to get a shed load of money every single week and month for the length of his contract. But business is business. And I think CM Punk realizes that if anything goes wrong in his WWE run now, he hasn't really got anywhere else that could afford him. So he's got to reel it in a little bit and maybe be on good boy behaviour. And it's what I do think, and I think that he probably will have that leash on him to stop him overstepping so many marks. He's basically got a box, and he can go up to the edges of that box. But if he goes any further outside of it, it's fines, it's disciplinary, it's suspension, it's maybe complete sacking.
Yeah, I'm sure when the contract was negotiated, there was sort of there'll be gross misconduct stuff that's put in there, etc. And the thing is, Triple H is going to run a tight ship. I also have a sneaky suspicion, and there's no way you'd ever get this confirmed. I don't think. I have a feeling when there's promos like this, the person that he's going against is told, needle him enough, but don't overstep it. I want to see how he'll react to you, because everything we know is there's no producers on CM Punk's work because they let him. That's the good thing. He's great at it. He can talk. And I think people who go against him have to be confident in themselves. And again, don't script that, because then it comes across that he's scripted, he's natural, and then the whole thing falls on its arse.
It shows quickly if that's the case as well, I think.
Yeah, and here you knew it wasn't, because there was bits where, like, Drew, you can see him looking at his watch here, because he's saying, I'm surprised you're still here. You're losing, people money in the back. You bet on how long you'd be here for. There's certain things I think they're allowed to needle him on, and they're pushing his buttons, not all the way, but they're seeing how he reacts. And so far, he's done all right. He's fine. But it also makes for great TV, because it is almost like a car crash waiting to happen. Like, you can't take your eyes off it, because at some point you're waiting for that. Well, this happened backstage at the Royal Rumble, and he kicked off again. But another chance to see it is on Monday, where we're going to see this kind of triangle tidied up. CM Punk said on social media, how about we talk about, what do you want to talk about? I'll see you on Monday. And it was confirmed we're going to get Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, which is dynamite, excuse the pun, viewing, because obviously these guys have a storied history with AEW. They've crossed paths previously, but this is the first time in WWE for a long time that we're going to see these two guys go at each other on the microphone. And again, I don't think we'll see anything physical. I don't think we're going to see anything physical from CM Punk until he steps in that ring on next Saturday night. But that's the way I think they've played it very well, and let him do what he's best at, talk his way back into the hearts and the minds of the WWE universe, etc. And I'm looking forward to this one. If it's anything like the other ones that we've been getting, then we're in for a treat.
Yes.
So there's 3 people there that are crossing stories. Do you see those 3 as the last 3 in the Rumble? Is there anyone else who might kind of upset it a little bit, or are they your final 3 and that's your story there?
I think they're definitely going to be the final 4. Whether my 4th person lasts until the final 3 or even the final 2, I don't know. I think if you're going to do it, you have CM Punk win number 1, because I reckon that is part of his contract. Second, Cody Rhodes falling at the last hurdle to guarantee that shot against Roman at WrestleMania again. Number 3, I would have Gunther.
Oh, you'd have Gunther, would you? Look at that.
I would. I haven't seen these slides, by the way. These are completely separate to what I've done. But yeah, I would have Gunther and Drew, because you could have Cody and Punk just go into the corners and let them 2 spend 5 minutes beating the hell out of each other. And I'd be all for it.
Yep. There's a couple of things with Gunther. And one goes back to last year, is he came out as number 1 and was the last eliminated.
Yeah.
Cody came out number 30 and won it. It's never quite sat right with me, because from a sort of mentality perspective, and telling that story, it was almost the wrong way around. You want your face and the good guy to overcome all the odds and go all the way. And you want your bad guy to come out last and sneak a victory, sort of thing, because that's a very heelish thing to do. Now, obviously, at the time, Cody was recovering from his torn pec, and it was kind of a case of like, let's not put too much strain on it straight away. But they almost had this like sort of 5-10 minute match after the Rumble, and they were the last 2, which is really cool. I kind of want them to swap this year and have Cody as number 1 and has Gunther as number 30. And you could still have Cody go over, and it means more because he's overcome all the odds of going the whole way. And it's a great kind of throwback to last year, where you think, oh, they're going to do the same, but in reverse. The other thing is, we're hearing that Brock Lesnar is sniffing around getting a WrestleMania match. Now, I think this is the last year where you've got the chance to do Brock Lesnar versus Gunther.
Yes.
I rewatched the other day the last year's Royal Rumble. And the moment where those 2 stood face to face and the crowd went crazy, I'm surprised that wasn't the match that we got at WrestleMania. So again, a plea to anyone who would listen, I just want to see Gunther versus Brock Lesnar.
Very creative, book it.
Yeah,
Just to keep Andy happy.
Gunther destroy Brock Lesnar and really legitimize him as an absolute badass. So
yeah,
that's how I would go. Is I'd have Brock Lesnar do something to cost him. Whether he goes through to the final and Brock Lesnar then comes back in, you wouldn't want him to be in the final two because you don't want a Royal Rumble resolved that way. That would like hurt whoever he's against. But in the final four, as they're all getting ready to like face off, and Brock comes out and throws him over the top rope to set that up. Gold, give me it, love it. So yeah, I'm with you there. So that's why I have Gunther. So they would be your final four, would they?
For me, yeah. I don't think there is really anyone else that I could feel legitimate in that position, and that way you're setting up with them final three. If you had Gunther as the final of the three, Joe can go out fourth. That doesn't bother me too much. But you're setting up so many big name sort of stars ready for WrestleMania, with CM Punk winning, Cody as second, falling at the final hurdle, still fighting for his WrestleMania opportunity, and your longest reigning IC title holder in number 3. You're showing that you are going behind these guys and building them and elevating them still, even though they don't need that elevation. You are building everything around them.
Yeah. The other one that we haven't mentioned, by the way, with Drew, is that it feels like a good time to bring Sammy back to go up against Drew properly. Because yes, they had a match, but Sammy kind of tinged his knee and has been off for a little while because I think he wanted the time off, didn't he? As well, was one of the things that was kind of rumored.
Yeah.
But again, he's one of those people where you give that pop of him coming out, he goes straight for Drew, and then it sets up a nice feud for them.
I have been thinking of how do we set up a WrestleMania match if we don't get Brock, and I would have Sheamus, if he's fit, healthy, ready, return and eliminate Gunther out the Rumble.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's showing the intention for your WrestleMania match.
There's a few people who have some history with Gunther because the way that it's been set up, and one of my favorite things that's been happening on Raw is the Imperium versus New Day stuff that's been going on because I think it's been exceptionally well played out again from an injury. And you saw Kaiser versus Kofi, and then Xavier Woods coming back and having like a nice sort of like edge to him that we haven't seen in a long time. So seeing a bit of steel from New Day and and some seriousness rather than the kind of fun and games that they're normally about. The way I thought it's going to play out is Kaiser took Kofi's head and he keeps going about that. I think Woods would come back and then do the same to him eventually, and then Gunther lays him out, which then ends up with Big E coming back and going up against Gunther. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'd want Big E after having a broken neck be his first match is a very physical one against Gunther. But what kind of response is he going to get if Big E comes out and is the one who eliminates Gunther out of the Royal Rumble?
I mean, that would pop the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So I reckon a good percentage of people would love to see that. If Big E has been signed off and he feels comfortable going into a Royal Rumble and having a few bits with Gunther, I'd be all for it. I wouldn't complain at that at all.
Yeah. So as we said, name of the title in this video, stories. There's stories all over the place that are kind of like writing themselves week on week. The last one we'll go through because there's a couple of people outside of this who have been who've declared. There's Shinsuke Nakamura as declared, and I'm trying to think. There's one more that I'm missing, isn't there?
Not at the minute. I'm actually on the.
Declared, but obviously he's injured now.
Yeah.
We've
covered Bayley. We've covered Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, and Bianca for the women's side. We've covered Cody, CM Punk, Drew, and Gunther. The only other two is Nakamura and Lashley that have officially been announced.
Yeah. But I mean, the problem with Bobby Lashley is I don't think he's prominent enough in the sense of like, how do you warm him up enough to win a Royal Rumble? You normally get a sense that there's a favourite very few times in Rumble history where you can see that there's been like a shock winner. You normally get a bit of a sense for it. Bobby Lashley's very much been painted into this Karrion Kross feud, which feels more likely to play out at the Royal Rumble going in and then also heading out the other side. It gives you a nice thing to get your teeth into for a little while. But Bobby Lashley, he's doing some great work with the Street Profits. They're an interesting group moving forward. I think there is a little bit of dynamic needed to separate so they're not just seen as the second coming of the Hurt Business. But again, it felt remiss of me not to put Bobby Lashley in because look at him. He just looks a star. He's great. There's a couple of suggestions that have come in. Well, Bonkers is saying Jey Uso could cost Drew again. It doesn't feel like they've fully resolved that issue. Drew obviously still carrying a lot of resentment towards Jey, brings it up at every opportunity. But I think Jey was staring down and looks like he could get involved in the IC or at least the Imperium side of things. And then John L says hi. Very short and sweet there. Hi to you as well, Janelle. I hope you're having a good Friday wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining us. Dan, is there any other stories that you'd like to kind of like get your teeth into before we head off into the Friday night air?
The one that we haven't actually, I say the one we haven't spoken about, but we know it's called Royal Rumble 2024, but the Royal Rumble is technically the premium live event. So I was going to ask you what you thought about the Logan Paul and Kevin Owens match.
Well, if you want to hear about that, there is one way you can do it, which is tune in next week when we discuss the wider card is, because there are a few matches on there that have been. One in particular is that one, but then again, we also have the Fatal 4-Way match for Roman Reigns' championship as well. So we're going to be we'll be chatting about that next week. We'll be talking about that. What is there any other matches that have been announced yet, or is that just
there's only the 2 Royal Rumble matches, the Fatal 4-Way, and then Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. Them are the only 4 matches officially at the minute.
I just wonder if they stick DIY versus Judgment Day on there.
That's a really good shout. The Pride is the name of the faction that we was thinking about for Bobby Lashley earlier on.
So what did I say? I said the Prestige or the Premium, or it's the Pride. I knew it was a P. I don't know why. But so we are going to be talking next week about everything. And it sounds like we've got some predictions that we're going to have to get out there as well. So make sure before we head off here, open another tab. If you're watching on Wrestling Royalty, go open another tab on Gimme Hulye's YouTube channel. Click subscribe, like that channel as well. Turn on notifications. And if you watch on Gimme Hulye, opposite, open the tab, find Wrestling Royalty, which I must say I made it easier to find because I've changed all the titles now. I just haven't changed the app. So you can just type in Wrestling Royalty into YouTube. You should be able to see the logo. It's the big gold W with the white R. And subscribe to that channel. And we will be discussing all of the cards. So if there's another match added next week, we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, I think we have covered all bases when it comes to the stories. So give me some names early, Dan. Women's, men's, who are you thinking?
Women's, Bayley. Men's, CM Punk.
Okay. I'll talk about why I don't think CM Punk is going to win next week. There's a reason why, and I'll cover that. But if I was pushed right now, I'd say Bayley and Cody Rhodes.
Good shouts still, I think.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to see the same winner 2 years in a row with Cody.
Well, you might not have said that when it was Stone Cold back in the 90s or Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan. I think they're the ones who've done it doubles.
Yeah, Randy Orton.
Randy Orton had done it back to back, has he?
Not back to back, but he's won it twice.
Oh, okay. Right. Fair enough.
Yep.
But it is time to finish our story for this particular stream. And of course, as I say, go subscribe, go turn those notifications on. Make sure you tune in next week for our full preview of the Royal Rumble, complete with predictions. I'm sure Sam will be back. You might even see, I don't know, you might see Ant or Dom knocking around. You never know. So
could do.
tune in. And all that's left to say is I've been Andy, he's been Dan, and this has been Wrestling Royalty.